Okay, nasai minasan. Today we're gonna talk about Ohsama Sentai King Ohger episode 23. I believe the way they sell this episode, they did a very terrible job in kind of like portraying what this episode is supposed to be, because the way they sell it almost seems like, oh, this is a combination, a teamwork between different nations working together to solve the crisis of Daigo or something like that. But after what we saw in this episode, it doesn't actually felt like all the nations are all working together to solve the Daigo problem. But instead, I felt like this episode should actually is actually focusing on the role of a king, because a king are not supposed to act. He's supposed to give order, and that is what this episode actually show us what Gira is actually going through. Like, he is actually feeling like very like difficult as a leader when you know like you're supposed to go down to do the dirty work and all the stuff, and yet you can't actually go and do it because like you are a king and you have a different responsibility. And I felt like this really show us very clearly like as a leader, like sometimes you even though you can actually do it, it doesn't mean that you have to be the one to do it. You have to give order, you have to shout out your instruction, like, so that the people knows what needs to be done, and your role is to plan for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Your role is to do the thing that only you can do, something like that. Just like how Gira is in this episode. Like, he is the only one that can actually activate the Zords, the castle, to become a Megazord. So his role is to be ready until the time is right, something like that. So this is really interesting way to actually see about to show us the role of a king, or should I say a role of a leader itself. Because if you apply this concept in your current day, like I would say a lot of people, like maybe like it's those who never became a leader before in their life, is gonna complain like, hey, as a leader, like why are you not doing anything? Like why are you only expecting us to act when you are just sitting there and do nothing, something like that. But I mean, like, there are some leaders who actually take advantage of the leadership position to make it seems like, oh, I don't need to do anything, all I need is to bark instruction and all those stuff. But they are leaders that they give instructions, and they are also very busy. They are also like busy trying to get the next thing done, trying to get the thing that they need to fix so that the people can actually do some work, like, because like I think there's this guy say this a very amazing quote that we always say in our church, is like everything rise and fall in leadership. I forgot who actually said that already, but if you know who that is, let me know in the comment section below. But I think this is so true. Okay, like Gira has now become a king. He needs to learn the way of a king itself, and I felt like Yanma is the kind of like the perfect guy to teach him this, because Yanma kind of like found a striking balance to hold his position as a king, and also find a balance to be a king, and also be a kind of like a bro to the people of Nongosopa itself. Okay, because like you can actually see like the people in Nongosopa are free to challenge him for the throne whatsoever, and yet people respect him for who he is. Really, people respect him as the king of Nongosopa, something like that. So I really felt like this episode, if they actually sell it like in the preview trailer, that if they sell it like the role of the king, Gira has to learn something like that, I feel like it is gonna inspire me more, like to be excited for this episode, instead of like all the nation all come together and all those stuff. You almost feel like we already seen that, but we never actually see Gira going through the struggle of becoming a king. And like I would say, like I really felt like the more Gira became a king, the more he's gonna realize that Raklia's way of ruling is not actually all that bad. It's just that the core of Raklia's like believing like something, it actually is actually wrong, something like that. Okay, so I am not sure. Okay, maybe at the end of the day, Gira is gonna realize that, hey, maybe Rakles is not all that bad. Okay, he's just that his motive is bad, something like that. Like, but we are not sure whether or not we're gonna get a redemption out of Rakles or not. Like, we don't even know if he like is truly dead or not, because like in the previous episode when we look at Suzume like crying over the coffin, and we like even Duga said that, oh, the body of Rakles, blah blah blah, but we never actually see Rakles in the coffin itself. And if you remember in the previous episode, we actually get to see Suzume actually like kind of like signaling Deboski like, hey, there's something I want to talk to you about privately and personally, but kind of like Deboski just kind of like ignore that and just go straight to the point like, hey Suzume, do you know anything about the giant castle being a robot, something like that. So that is something like really interesting, because it could actually mean that, hey, Suzume knows that Rakles is still alive, and maybe Suzume actually holds Rakles some way, like in a prison or something like that, like he has him on a leash, something like that. We were not sure, okay, because there has to be a reason why Suzume like pretended that Rakles is actually dead or something like that, because like we also know like faking a death in the series is not actually that of a surprising thing, because we know that Gira also faked his own death and people seems to believe it. So what is to say Rakles fake his own death as well? Okay, so that is really interesting. Okay, but I felt like this episode, yeah, they don't really utilize the scientists all that much. Like it almost seems like the scientists just appear in the series to for those who actually watch The Secret of Rakles, is gonna be like, hey, that guy is from that show, something like that, but it doesn't really play much of a role in the story currently. But maybe in the future we're gonna see him like play much of a significant role, now that the guy, the Boshima actually is no longer one of the loyal vessel of Sugar Dam, something like that. Maybe there's an opening, like maybe he can replace Boshima, like he can be another advisor for Gira in terms of technology, and Duga is gonna advise Gira on like how to run the country, something like that. So that is just my own personal opinion on how things are actually going through right now in the story itself. But now let us talk about the giant Megazord. Okay, like the Zord is huge. It is as huge as Daigok itself. Okay, so I am really curious, like what is the size comparison between the castle Kakutas Kabuto and the King Ohger itself. Like what is the height difference? Because I would say it is definitely a huge height differences, and I would also love to see how does King Ohger and Kakutas Kabuto actually all fuse together to become kind of the God King Ohger, something like that, because we know that is actually coming. There's a new form, a new Zord form that is gonna utilize 22 different Shoe God to become one giant Shoe God itself. So that is really insane. I'm not sure who are they gonna fight using that 22 Shoe God itself, because like the Kakuto's Kabuto castle itself is already able to defeat Daigo in one single hit. Like who else is stronger than Daigo? Maybe there is like more Bugnarak that is stronger, we do not know. But I'm really excited as well to see where are they actually going with the story itself. And by the end of this episode, we actually get to see the crowning of Gira, and I believe that is gonna lead to the movie itself, Adventure Heaven. So this is the episode we clearly sees like, oh, this is how things are gonna go into the movie itself, just like how in Kamen Rider Gears, in I think in episode 45, how it actually ended with the renewal of the world, something like that. That is actually how they are gonna cut into the movie as well. And if you actually realize, like by the time like everyone come back to the war in a rebuilt world, something like that, they say that Tycoon and S is nowhere to be found. So maybe by the end of the movie itself, that is how they reconcile as well. We actually get to see Tycoon being like he able to process with his emotion during the movie itself. Maybe, we are not sure, but that is kind of like just my speculation and just my idea on how does the 4S and the Black Fox actually came into the story itself. By the way, this week there's no Kamen Rider Gears, but there's quite a lot of people who actually show like footages of from Kamen Rider Gears. Like someone actually recorded it. I honestly speaking, I don't recommend you guys to do that. That is illegal, that is theft. So try not to do that, because if you do that, it is gonna affect the release of the movie. You know how Japanese people like really love their movie to not be being used by other people and all those stuff. So if you do that, you're just gonna affect like the rest of the country, like the rest of the world might not even be able to see the movie, because like, oh, if I allow you to buy it, then you're gonna leak it on the internet, it's gonna affect our sales. Then they don't want to do it anymore, and that is what happened to, I would say, in Malaysia most of the time. Because last time when we have like the anime movie came to Malaysia, and I think like because of, we always like that people love to post shit on Instagram, like they took a photo of one of the scene in the story itself, and you might think it is just a photo, but for Japanese people, they might actually think that, hey, that is theft, that is, we don't like that shit. So it's gonna affect quite a lot. Okay, but why am I talking about this? I don't know. Let me go back to Ohsama Sentai right now, because the way they ended the episode actually gave me quite a lot of question mark. Okay, I felt like they did a really shitty job in explaining how the hell Jeremy actually got the 4 souls of the Greater Guardian Deity actually back. Okay, like the 3 Greater Guardian Deity and God Tarantula. How did he actually got back the souls? Does that mean that every single time when you defeat a giant Bugnarak, there's just a sugar soul being left behind somewhere for you, for someone to actually collect? Because I just don't know, man. Like, there's still a lot of question regarding the soul of the Bugnarak, the soul of the shoe god, and also the Bugnarak and all those stuff. Like we still have quite a lot of questions that hopefully it get answered, because it appears like this show just doesn't get the, like, they don't really care about the lore that much, I would say. Like, I think by the end of the story, we are gonna realize that there's a lot of things that they set up that we will never actually get an answer for, and we might need to have some hard preparation that is okay. So we just have to accept that and move on with our life. But that is all from me. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you made it this far into the video, means you absolutely love what I'm putting out as a content. So I would actually would really love you to comment the word screwdriver in the comment section below. Like, why screwdriver? Because of there's like so many cogs and wheels in this episode, so screwdrivers to tie them all into place. Okay, so screwdriver is the word, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Goodbye.